Hey guys, welcome to week 2 of our series Maybe. We're talking about the doubts that creep into our lives and how that impacts us. One of the ways that doubt tends to creep in for many of us is just what we call delays or waiting for God to act or for something to come true in our life. I don't know about you, but one of the most frustrating places that I can be is like in a waiting room at a hospital or the tarmac of an airport, and you're just sitting there and you're waiting. There's nothing you can do. And as you sit there, you're thinking, I could be doing a million other things. And for many of us, that's just frustrating. And we feel like we're not getting anywhere. I call this culturally, this is the Amazon kind of mentality. And it's, if I need something, I'll get it this afternoon. And that's a beautiful thing, except when it creeps into our life in ways that are unhealthy. And so some of you are probably waiting on some things right now. Maybe you're trying to get pregnant and you've had a little difficult time, or maybe it's taken longer than maybe you wanted, or you're waiting on the right spouse, or you're waiting on the right job, or waiting on the right school to open up and you join. So many of us are in the waiting room of life, which is frustrating. And yet it's part of life. It's part of being alive, is being in the waiting rooms of life. But Scripture speaks to this consistently and helpfully. And one of the ways that it does speak to us is letting us see the end of stories where people waited and God was able to move and make a difference in their life. One of those illustrations is a guy named Abraham and Sarah. They waited very late to have kids. God kind of told them, hey, it's going to be a while. And as they were senior citizens, God looks at them and says, hey, you're going to have kids. You're actually going to have so many kids you won't be able to count them. So many descendants you won't be able to count them. Abraham and Sarah were old, and they're thinking, God, are you serious? And even after their age, it took another couple decades before they finally got pregnant and they had a son. But over that time, God shows us how to wait properly, how to wait on Him so that ultimately we're able to have the things that He wants for us in life. And so we've got a couple passages we're going to look at, and we'll have a couple points that we want to talk about today. But a couple things before we kind of get through here today is just reminding ourselves that often when we're waiting, God's at work. That's often when He's doing what He needs to do. We sometimes think when God doesn't act quickly that there's a problem. But often the solution is that He is working. He's actually doing something behind the scenes that we can't see. One of the other uncomfortable things about waiting is that sometimes God's answer isn't yes or no. Sometimes it's wait. And that's a legitimate answer. I've made that answer. I've given that answer to my kids before, where they'll ask for something. And I'm like, hey, you're going to have to wait on that one. That's a legitimate answer that God gives to you and I in some of the areas of our life. Maybe right now He's looking at you and saying, just wait, hold on, take a breath. Things will work out. I'm behind the scenes and I'm doing what I need to do. And I don't know where He's working in your life, but I know He's working behind the scenes in my life to ultimately kind of give to me the things that He wants to give to me. Now, it's interesting in life. I grew up, I've said this many times, maybe you've heard this before, but I was really hyperactive. I walked fast, talked fast, acted fast. I actually had to take medicine to slow me down a little bit and as a kid. And so I've always struggled with this. I always thought that I needed the next thing quickly and fast, and let's move and let's go and let's get this done. And it's taken a long time for God to kind of call the time out on me and say, whoa, Jody, slow down, wait, take a breath. Things will work out for you in the end. I don't know if He's telling you that today or not, but that's a legitimate action of God to tell you and I, to put you and I in the waiting room of life for just a moment and allow Him to work behind the scenes. So today, I don't know what you're waiting on. There's probably something that you're waiting on, or something that you want, something that you wish you could go to Amazon and hit the click, send today, but that may not happen. God might be putting you in the waiting room of life, but don't worry. Don't get too upset. Don't get too concerned, because that's a legitimate way that God handles you and I in life. And it's a legitimate way for us to eventually get where He wants us to go. So thank you guys so much. Mothers, I know you just had Mother's Day. We're excited for you. Thank you for all that you mean to us in life. And just remember today that God is working behind the scenes to get you to where you need to go. We just need to wait. God bless you, and see you soon.